Now, as mentioned earlier, on Wednesday this week, that is December 3rd, South Korea marks 1 year since the brief martial law declared by former President Yoon Suk Yeol. That being said, in this next report, my colleague Kim Do-yeon walks us through the legal consequences facing the former administration since that fateful day.
1 year since special forces and tanks were deployed to the National Assembly in the middle of the night. Then President Yoon Suk Yeol, while now politically impeached, awaits his ruling for criminal charges. In the immediate aftermath, 3 different agencies, the Corruption Investigation Office, prosecutors, and police all jumped in to catch the biggest suspect in their history. But the initial probe stalled. The game changed when President Lee Jae Myung took office in June. His very first law as president channeled everything down to one team, the Insurrection Special Council. Led by Cho Eun-suk, this team is now solely responsible for investigating and charging Yoon with insurrection. Soon after the special probe started, Yoon was detained again in July, cited for the risk of destroying evidence. By August, dozens of his cabinet members and military leaders were also indicted. And as the probe went deeper, the special counsel added explosive new charges alleging that Yoon used drones to provoke North Korea in October to manufacture a hostile atmosphere, effectively creating a pretext to legitimize the martial law that followed.
Defendants Yoon Suk Yeol, Kim Do-yeon, and Arirang conspired to harm the military interests of the Republic of Korea by increasing the risk of armed conflict between the North and South, with the goal of creating conditions to declare martial law.
But the main charge remains insurrection. Under Article 87 of the Criminal Act, insurrection is defined as creating violence to subvert the Constitution. A ringleader of a rebellion faces death or life imprisonment, while their followers also face heavy punishment. Yoon's defense remains consistent. The declaration was a legitimate act of governance, and the military deployment to the National Assembly was merely to maintain order. While former military officers testified that Yoon ordered key opposition politicians to be detained, Yoon claims he never gave specific targets, only mentioning anti-state forces.
When I say anti-state forces, isn't that referring to spies who are targets of counter-espionage investigations? It's not about regular people.
He argues the decree was also a necessary warning to the public about an opposition party that was paralyzing the government, not an attempt to subvert the Constitution. The special prosecution team rejects this entirely. It has described the event in court as a terror against democratic institutions. The judgment, however, begins with the cabinet. Former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo faces his verdict on January 21st. Prosecutors have requested a 15-year prison sentence. Their argument is that the then Prime Minister had a constitutional duty to stop an illegal order, but he failed to do so.
Although I could not stop the martial law, I never intended to agree with or aid it. That is the most honest confession I can make in this historic court.
If the verdict accepts insurrection charges, this will set the tone for the rest of the rulings. As for former President Yoon, his fate will be decided soon. The court has scheduled his final closing hearings for January 5th, 7th, and 9th. As for the investigation itself, the official investigation period ends in just 2 weeks. Kim Do-yeon, 아리랑뉴스.